banged and horned and
then you
trodden on.
And they run to the bleachers, right?
At the end of the day, you see all these guys lying all over the place near the bars, all with injuries, all drunk.
Legs,
Oh, no kidding.
Pretty wild.
Not to the point where they have to go to hospital, but now and again they do.
Sometimes you have.
That's why they quit that. They stopped it.
Yeah.
The insurance wasn't going to cover.
I mean, I didn't want our kids doing any of that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But even when they might have later.
So they got a good dosage of Basque culture. Yeah.
Yeah. 8 months of it.
Yeah,
8 months.
Really
this is it. We wanted to indoctrinate them into it. Otherwise, you're never going to do it. It's a shame because you really have to put a lot of effort in. Look at Joanne. The amount of effort Joanne's put in the last, 50 years to learn Spanish and to go there every year with me. I mean, they actually really respect her now.
Yeah, it's important, especially to the Basque people. They fought hard.
Well, they're so...
they're
so patriotic. It's very patriotic.
But after Franco 75, then they're very fortunate to have autonomy and to be recognized.
You don't even speak about Spain. You don't even mention the word.
Really?
Well, they're the Basque country, so that's how it is. Yeah.
They're still.
So they have their own
a lot of
language. The
language.
oldest.
They have their own. They're autonomous as a region, which they gained.
Sure, that's right.
Yeah. So they have a fair amount of autonomy.
Oh, they do more than anybody else.
If you go there, the roads are the best roads I've ever been. I mean, my God, spot on.
Well, they're fortunate, like the Catalans. I mean, that's also their big complaint, that all their money goes back to Madrid, and then Madrid decides, I guess, how much goes, back to Catalonia. But the Basques, they've been fortunate to keep most of them.
80%. The tax money stays in the Basque country.
And then they do the roads themselves.
And the road, it's the most expensive freeway in the world, I would imagine. It's only 100 miles long, and it costs you about 12 euros or more, 15 euros now.
From
100 miles.
From Bilbao to San Sebastian.
San Sebastian to Bilbao, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very mountainous, so it was very hard to build because there's many tunnels and curves, and it's really well done. It's just an amazing feat.
But it's so fascinating, even if you go on the internet today, nobody is sure where the Basque people came from. And you've only got, the 7 provinces, 5 in northern Basque country, and then France, right? Yeah. But to have a language that they can't even connect to, I mean, it's really, just
what's it? It's got an actual name, hasn't it? The Basque language.
Euskera.
Euskera.
Yeah.
And that, since the 70s, it's now obligatory.
And the Basque country is called Euskadi.
The actual country is Euskadi.
Mm.
But, of course, our cousins, our age, don't speak Basque, unless they...
because of Franco. I would have learned it otherwise. My dad spoke Basque, and his brothers and sisters all spoke Basque.
Your one cousin that married a girl from Bermeo, Miran, her family, a big fishing village.
They speak Basque because, of course, they managed to keep the language intact because the fishermen were at sea. So they weren't punished for speaking their language because they were at sea on their own.
Ah, yes.
But anyone who wasn't, Franco's Guardia Civil, if you were caught speaking Basque language, you'd be really heavily punished.
Yeah, you couldn't do it then.
And what happens now? It's now it's mandatory.
It's obligatory.
Or
yes,
you don't see
mandatory.
You don't see a Guardia Civil anywhere.
No.
And if you do, you see them in gangs of 5 to make sure they're safe.
Yeah, well, I mean, things have been fine for several years now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, in general, they're quite happy with their situation now.
Why don't we talk a bit about your grandfather, Paul, was quite a legendary figure in that region.
Yeah, he was the mayordomo, which is the head chef and person in charge of the other chefs and the kitchen and everything to do with the head, like a head steward.
La Reina del Pacifico.
On the Reina del Pacifico, which was in those days one of the largest ocean liners.
He was the guy who established all the land for you?
who ended up, he bargained and bargained to get the land.
Yeah, he bought one piece after another.
When he retired from being at sea, which was,
died, I guess, quite young though.
Well, I only met him when I was 4 years of age. He died between I was 4 and I guess 8. He was gone. Okay. By the time I was 8, he wasn't there anymore. So he must have died just after that. Yeah.
But your grandmother, she took care of all that. My
grandmother was
land.
The businesswoman of the farm. She had all the workers on the farm working for her, and she had to pay the wages. And in those days, the farm was actually very agricultural.
There must have been 15 workers.
15 guys working, sure.
They have that one wonderful photo that we don't have. Yeah. With them all, because in those days, of course, the women were
sitting
all cooking.
On a big long table and waiting to be fed.
How wonderful, and wonderful meals.
The women used to cook all morning and then serve the meal at 2:00 for all the men. They'd come in from the fields and sit around this massive big long table in the portal, which is the entrance to the farm.
Well, Paul's family, they were always...
The grapevines up above, it's quite a place there.
They were always surprised, like, I was brought up, even though when I was little I didn't necessarily like everything, but later, if it's good, I was brought up to try everything I had to.
You're very good. I'm the one who's fussy.
Oh, you're bad. But so they didn't figure that I would ever with the in the black ink, right? Como te dices en español? Chipirones.
Little squid in the ink.
Yeah.
In the sink.
And the octopus and the snails in the red sauce. And
octopus.
I ate everything and they couldn't believe it, like, wow.
Yeah.
But it was all so good. They were all amazing. Like I used to say, they're like chefs. Well, they were.
Oh, yeah. Well, my grandfather had a cookbook. He made recipes out. Basque recipes for a lot of the meals that he actually probably served on the boat.
So there was so I was going to move on to the, with all that going on, you are at the same time painting all the time, as usual. You're painting for... Tell me a bit about what you were painting and where the paintings were heading and, what was the next show.
Because my father also was our contact in Vancouver, even when we were dealing with galleries in Vancouver, I'd send them first to him, and then he'd get things stretched up, and then he'd be in charge taking them around to the galleries. Also, Great West, after the Cheminas mural, then they were wonderful contact. They had an excellent gallery. And we also still were sending to the Big Island and Maui.
Ah.
Yeah, and then, of course, Sala de Cultura.
And then the Sala de Cultura in
we
Gorliz,
do those shows.
And in Plentzia.
And in Plentzia,
we used to do 2 shows, one week in one, or 2 weeks in one town, and then 2 weeks in the next town.
And in Plentzia, we had Juan, who had a large bar, and then it was like the Engineers Club.
I did a mural in his place as well.
Yeah.
That's right.
But it was we'd have the show at the Sala de Cultura in Plentzia, then it would move down anything left, or Paul would add to it, and then that would go down to his bar for another month.
Another month.
So, everything's
a lot of exposure in the 2 towns.
Yeah.
And that would be Basque culture based?
Basque subject matter mostly, yeah. But I sometimes did Native Indians as well, because they do appreciate other cultures,
they had the connection, being the oldest in the world, right?
Sure.
The Basque felt that connection with the natives.
Did, I'm sure.
But also, you were working on, when we left Vancouver, my father, I think I mentioned before, he started writing poetry since he was about 15. And, they're wonderful poems. And so he wanted to do something for Expo 86. And so he said, hey, look, take these poems, choose whatever you like, and could you do something like pen and ink? Because he wanted to do just black and white book with his poems and Paul's illustrations.
That's right. Yeah.
So you were working on that.
I was working on that, yeah.
And
black and white pen and ink drawings.
Then the Basque show that we were taking back to Vancouver. That's right.
You're going back to Sitges.
Sure.
You're going back to Sitges because that's your sort of... You're going back there because that's your sort of base.
Well,
that's right.
Well, we can't miss that out.
We always wanted to...
we have sort of a routine there. So, and
so on the way there, on the freeway, suddenly the engine quit. It just quit. die.
Lovely blue van, yeah.
Yeah, so we found a phone box on the freeway, phoned for help, and they came and they towed us to this off the freeway garage, and they said, it's your fuel pump. Fuel pump's gone, which fuels, pumps the fuel into the carburetor and everything into the, So I said, oh no, well, how long do I have to wait for this to be repaired? Oh, a couple of weeks before they can get a part. Yeah. So, oh my God. Okay. So I said, oh no, what can you do?
Well, pretty clever.
He said, well,
practical.
They're pretty ingenious, right? He said, you could have a direct feed of petrol into your carburetor. I said, what do you mean? He says, we get a 5-gallon drum of petrol, sit it in the front seat next to you, and we have a tube coming out of it leading straight into your carburetor.
And as long as you don't smoke.
As long as you don't have you should be fine, no problem. So, so we started the engine and we went, and it worked.
And that was Paul's passenger. We were in the back.
They were all in the back, and my passenger was this 5-gallon or 10-gallon, I think it was, drum next to me in the seat. And so when I needed petrol, I had to literally get the hose and put it to the window on the passenger side into the... And this one guy saw me one day, and he said,
"From the passenger into the carburetor."
I said, "Well, it's the only way it'll keep going, And oh my God,
is that a long drive?
So anyway, about 500 miles.
Was it 4
So we drove all the way to Sitges like this, and we get into the garage, and I got everybody out, and we went to the hotel. We went to our apartment first, emptied everything out. Then I drove it to the garage, and the guy says, "What the hell?" And he said, "This is unbelievably dangerous. One spark, and you could blow the whole thing up."
Wow.
I said, "Oh God, well,
they
no
didn't
one told me.
say
They didn't say that. I thought it was just okay, And anyway, he called me back about a few days later, because they had to wait a while for this carburetor, the new fuel pump, to come. Yeah. And so he said, "Do you know that your whole engine was full of petrol?"
Wow.
So anyway, they fixed that, got the new fuel pump in. He says, "Okay, take it for a test drive." So I drive out there, and I'm driving along the road, and this guy at the side of the road with this German Shepherd was throwing sticks for it to catch. And one of the sticks bounced in front of the car. Dog jumps in front of the car. I hit the dog. He gets stuck in between my fan belt and my radiator. What? And he's squealing and screaming. Oh. So I get out the car, and I had to get hold of his back legs and drag him out. Oh. And then he ran off into the woods, screaming and
his
jerking.
Owner, because
and his owner, I said, "You stupid bugger." And he took the blame, the guy. So I managed to squeak back to the garage again, and I had to repair the fan belt and everything, and the fan blades. Oh my God. Can you believe it? What a
this
trip.
poor old van. When did the van give up? Did you then sell it, and that was it?
It finally got back to England, and we sold it back in England. Yeah, so we did make it back.
That was the only sort of lemon. All the others were pretty good.
Yeah, that was the only lemon. That's
right. We did have
lemon. Yeah.
Oh no!
In the next
car, which was the Mercedes.
Yeah, but you talk about that.
Yeah, I know, but we had that for a few years.
We should probably do a bonus, some sort of episode where we just cover all these vehicles, and find out. Pink Caddy.
That's right. There's a lot of personality to those.
There is.
We get lots of vehicles since then, but they've all been
normal,
rental.
Kind of boring.
That's right.
And so Sitges was just get back to Sitges. Quite a few months there at the same time. A few months in Sitges to keep painting and.
Yeah. Well, we're only back. The time is very tight now. Because we're in August, so we actually have only got, maybe we have exactly 3.5 weeks, but everything's worth it to be in Sitges. We always consider that another home of ours, we just love everything about it, and, everything's easy again, and friends and
Common,
good food, wine, and the history. You know, the history of Sitges